Hello students, we are going to discuss the first poem from our textbook and the title of the poem is Life. The poet is Charlotte Bronte. This poem is about the optimism of the poet. This poem has got 3 stanzas. The first stanza is of 8 lines, the second stanza is of 4 lines, and the third stanza is of 12 lines. As we will move on with the explanation, you will understand that the poem follows the rhyme scheme A-B, A-B. Before we read the poem and try to understand, let me discuss the central idea or the theme of the poem with you all. In this poem, the poet tells us that life is a combination of happiness and hardships. She says that the phase of happiness is not permanent one, and in the same manner the phase of hardships or difficulties is also not permanent. All these phases are temporary because the time flies, and so we should be happy to enjoy the pleasant moments, and at the same time we should be grateful for having these happy moments in our life. Now let us read the poem first. Life, believe, is not a dream, so dark as sages say. Oft a little morning rain foretells a pleasant day. Sometimes there are clouds of gloom, but these are transient all. If the shower will make the roses bloom, oh, why lament its fall? Rapidly, merrily, life's sunny hours flit by. Gratefully, cheerily, enjoy them as they fly. What though death at times steps in and calls our best away? What though sorrow seems to win over hope a heavy sway? Yet hope again elastic springs, unconquered though she fell. Still buoyant are her golden wings, still strong to bear us well. Manfully, fearlessly, the day of trial bear, for gloriously, victoriously, can courage quell despair. Now let us try to understand the meaning of each stanza. The first stanza. In the first stanza, the poet begins with the word life, and this word itself is the title of the poem. It emphasizes the fact that the poem is all about life. According to the poet, we should believe that life is not a dream so dark as sages say. Sages means wise people. Most of the learned men believe that life is like a dark dream. But the poet here tries to tell us that it's not true all the time. Further, the poet says, often a little morning rain foretells a pleasant day. The term morning rain is a metaphor that symbolizes sorrow and despair. The line means that despair is often a way to joy and happiness like morning rain, which leads to a pleasant day. The poet also tells us that if this shower of rain will make the roses bloom, then why should we lament? Why should we be sad just because these flowers are going to wither once again? It means that if the days of difficulties are not going to last long and we are going to witness with the happy moments, that we should not be sad for having these difficult times in our life. There are sorrows and griefs in the life of every human being, but they are not permanent. Rather, they are temporary and short-lived. Now let's understand the second stanza. This stanza consists of 4 lines. According to the poet, life's sunny hours flit by very fast, and thus, instead of lamenting the sorrows and griefs, one should gratefully, cheerily enjoy those fast flying moments of life. Students, in the third stanza, the poet says, in a rhetoric way, that though the death may take away your life during our best time, that is the most enjoyable time, or the sorrows take over our hope, we should never lose the will and determination, because hope has elastic springs. Elastic springs mean that the hope is elastic and like the spring season. It can be bent by the sorrows or by the winter, but cannot be broken and retains itself after the clouds of gloom go away or when the winter goes away. Here, the poet uses metaphor. The clouds of gloom, they stand for the darkness. Elastic spring, it stands for the hopes that we have after the difficult times. In the next line, the poet brings in herself and says that though the sorrows and griefs have bent her down, or her hopes, she still has her golden wings, which are capable of being flying even after griefs bent them down. Quell means to kill, to force, to give up. And the poetess says that she has buoyant golden wings. Buoyant means to be able to float, or buoyant here can mean someone who is very, very lively, someone who is very, very hopeful. The poet further says that she can bear all the hurdles of life as she is strong and fearless. Manfully, fearlessly, these words actually mean to be manful, to be strong, to be fearless. And on the day of judgment, it means on the day of trial. It is believed in Christianity that there is a day of judgment after the death of every human being. The poet says that her courage will make her victorious. Thus, the poem ends with a strong will, hope, and determination that good will ultimately come to her. So, dear students, let us recall it once again. In the first stanza, taking the example of rain, The poet asks us to see its bright side. In the second stanza, she asks us to enjoy the fast running moments of life. And in the third stanza, she becomes optimistic about being courageous even after her death. Hope you understood the meaning in short and the central idea of the poem. Thank you.